Okay, and welcome back from our stretch break. We're going to continue on. In part two, we're going to look at the muscular system of the body. It's a little bit shorter than what we looked at with the skeletal system, so let's press on here. So, types of muscle tissue. We have three different types of muscle tissue throughout the body. We have skeletal muscle tissue. You can see the picture here. It's not surprisingly attached to your skeleton. Most of the time, when we think of muscles, or if you think of like a meat that you're going to eat as part of a dish, that's usually skeletal muscle. Smooth muscle is part of your intestines, the blood vessel, your arteries and veins, and it's found throughout your body as well. And on the far right, we've got our cardiac muscle, which is just associated with your heart. And there's some differences we can see between the three types. So skeletal muscle, so each one of these kind of loop groupings like that, that's one part of one skeletal muscle called the muscle fiber. They extend really long and they're striated. They have these lines that go across. Smooth muscle are kind of spindle shaped, so they taper. They pinch in at both ends of it. And then cardiac muscle is branching and then has these little kind of connecting parts between the branches, and it's also striated. Smooth muscle is not striated. It's the only one that's not. So here you can see these striations. This is part of skeletal muscles. So these up and down lines of the striations. Then each one of these kind of longish pink parts here, that's just part of one skeletal muscle that would extend the whole length of wherever it's going to go from, across your arm or across your leg or wherever that particular part is. One thing that's interesting about skeletal muscles is they are multinucleated, so you can see they have lots of nuclei per single muscle cell there. So if we look at like an entire muscle, so imagine like your bicep in your arm or something, that entire group of skeletal muscle is made up of subunits that we call muscle fascicles. And then within each muscle fascicle, so here's one here going in, here's one muscle fascicle, is going to be made up of muscle fibers. So each one of these muscle fibers, each one of these circles here, that's an individual muscle cell. It's really long. They run the whole length of where they go. So like the muscles in your thigh run all the way from basically your knee to your hip. So it's a really long single cell. But then within each muscle fiber, there's also these smaller things called myofibrils, and you can see them here, but we're going to focus kind of on what's going on inside of there. So this is a cross section of a muscle fascicle. So you can see inside the muscle fascicle individual muscle fibers. Those are all individual cells right there. Okay. So how do muscles get shorter? This was a big question for a long time. People didn't know if muscles were put together like springs or what was happening. But it turns out that there's two molecules, one of them called actin and one of them called myosin. And what they do is they slide past each other. So kind of like if you mesh your fingers together and slide them past each other, you can kind of get your hands closer together. So this is what's going on inside of here. So you can see, that this kind of pink band and this kind of pink band, even though each individual pink band does not change its shape, and each red band here does not change its shape, by sliding past each other, they shorten that distance between them. And so that grouping from one pink band here to the other pink band here, that's called a sarcomere. And we have lots of sarcomeres throughout our entire muscular system. And they connect with little actin heads that connect to the myosin molecules there to shorten up. You can see that happening, kind of the animation there. And that was in the crash course video there as well. So looking at it, during contraction, you can see that those will bind to it and they'll slide past each other, contracting fibrils, and then relaxing, they'll break apart, and so those two things can move away from each other. It is important to note that, as was mentioned in the video, muscles cannot push, so they can't forcibly pull away from each other. They can only contract and relax. So if your arm is kind of held out and you want to pull your hand up towards your shoulder, you're going to contract your bicep and relax your tricep, which is on the back side of your arm. And likewise, if you're going to extend your hand out away from your shoulder, you're going to contract your tricep and relax your bicep. So those two work in opposition in order to provide all the movement that our body has. So as you can see this happening here, it's important to note that that interaction has to happen across a joint. So here you can see like your bicep connects up by your shoulder, but it goes across your elbow and it connects to the radius and ulna of the upper arm. If it just connected to the bone here, then it wouldn't allow that arm to move up. So you need to have that connection across the joint here. As we mentioned, they can't push. They have to work in opposition. So you can see that bicep contracting, the arm coming up, that tricep contracting, the arm going down, and at the same time the opposite muscles have to relax. So the next picture we're going to look at is major muscles of the body. I do expect you to be able to name and identify the muscles of the body, but it's just good to know just kind of in general, but it's helpful for our unit here. So as I apologize, it's not the best picture, it's a little fuzzy, but it was a good one that I could find that wasn't overly embedded with a ton of muscles, because this is just a very small sampling of a lot of muscles that are out there. So if we go through looking at the front of the body, so here we're looking at the front of the body, so the face is towards us. So on our upper shoulders, between our shoulder and our neck, there's a muscle called the trapezius. It extends around on the back, but you can see it from the front. On your shoulder itself is your deltoids. There, delta stands for kind of a triangle shape, so they kind of pinch down and form a triangle on your upper arm right there. Then we've got our pectoral groups, your pecs across the chest, and they help you pull your arms in from the side there. In your arms, you've got your biceps on the front, and then in your forearms, there's a whole bunch of muscles there we're not going to worry about. Across the middle part of your belly, you got what we call our abdominal muscles. There's other groups kind of in the side on there, but we'll just talk about the abs, the abdominal muscles. There's your 6-pack or 8-pack, depending on how you want to look at it. Going down the front part of your leg, there's 4 major muscle groups that work together. So 4 gives us quads, those are our quadriceps. And then kind of just speaking out on the side here, we have what we call our calf muscle or our gastrocnemius. But we flip around and look at the back side of the body. So now we're looking at the back of the head. You can see that trapezius there. So think of like a trapezoid shape. So this extends from the middle of your back up to your scapula, your shoulder blades there, towards your shoulders, and then up back to the back of your neck. So the trapezius is this trapezoid shape here. Again, that's your deltoids, that kind of triangle that comes down. We have the latissimus dorsi, which come across the back. This is your lats, and they kind of extend from the lower back here, kind of up towards the side. And they allow you to pull your arm down and back. Then we've got our triceps here, which work in opposition to our biceps, forearm muscles. We actually don't have a lot of muscles right in the middle of our lower back. There's just a lot of tendons that go across there and hold our latissimus dorsi and other muscle groups together. Your buttocks is the gluteal group, so gluteus maximus. There's gluteus medius in there as well. I'm going the back part of your leg, so the opposite of your quads, is what's called your hamstrings. And they allow, if you're standing, they allow you to pull your foot up towards, up off the ground and up that way. And then your calf muscles, your gastrocnemius. So if you're standing and you get up on tiptoes, you're contracting your gastrocnemius there. And you can feel that across your Achilles tendon. So this is a good spot if you want to pause the video and go through and name the major muscle groups from kind of head to toe in the front of your body, your ventral side, and then on the back of your body, your dorsal side. You can name those. So give you a second to look those over. All right, and then we'll go ahead and move past that. All right, so overall, again, just kind of our major ideas. So make sure you go back and look back over those key points. Look back over those key terms, know those major muscle groups and skeletal bones there. And then as we did before, I've got a bunch of questions. I'm not going to go into them, but you can see, as an example, there's some questions, and then we've got the answers here. And those are available on the PowerPoint if you just want to go through the PowerPoint. So I'm going to end it there, and that's the end of part 2 and the end of day 74, biology. All right, thanks for listening.